What's up, Titans? It's Tom Knight from Tighten Up Your Game. You know, it occurred to me recently that I made a quick tutorial video on bar muscle-ups, but I have not yet made one for ring muscle-ups. So today, I'm going to remedy that. And there's more good news. I think you'll find what I discovered to be true for me will also be true for you, and that is that ring muscle-ups are a lot easier to learn than bar muscle-ups. And in just a moment, we're going to get into why that is, as well as cover everything else you'll need to know in order to achieve your first ring muscle-up. So stay tuned. I want to quickly elaborate on why I think you'll find ring muscle-ups much easier to achieve than bar muscle-ups. 1. With rings, the false grip is much more efficient at allowing us to break through the transition point, whereas bar muscle-ups often begin with a standard grip, forcing us to have to switch grips midway through the technique. 2. With rings, our hand positions can change, rotating inward or outward throughout the move to better accommodate each portion of the technique. You can't do that on a high bar. 3. With rings, the distance between the hands can change as well, which again helps us maximize pulling potential when we need it most. Here again, this kind of distance changing is not possible on bars. 4. With rings, you can enter the transition of a muscle-up earlier in the move than you could on a high bar due to the fact that there is no bar to have to clear with your chest. This means you can get away with slightly less explosive pulling strength with using rings. And finally, 5, perhaps not so much a technical difference as a practical one, most people can more quickly afford an indoor ring setup than they could an outdoor high bar. Take a look at this. My outdoor muscle-up bar cost me roughly $200 in wood, pipe, fittings, fasteners, and concrete to build. But an indoor pull-up bar and a set of rings would only set you back about a quarter of that amount, and you won't have to do any construction. Okay, let's get into it. The first order of business is getting into the false grip. Without this grip, it's unlikely you'll ever get yourself from underneath the rings to above the rings without jumping. And by the way, it helps to have gymnastic chalk, which is super inexpensive. I get mine on Amazon. Chalk helps you hold the false grip more easily, as it provides an exceptional amount of friction between your skin and the wood. How I get into this grip is I place this bone at the heel of my palm directly on the bottom of the ring, and then simply close the hand to the inside, all while not letting the heel of my palm move from its initial position. If this is your first time trying this, you might want to check out my Introduction to Rings video, where I discuss this grip in a little more detail, as well as outline some strategies for strengthening it to the point that you'd be ready for muscle-ups. Now, for the strictest of ring muscle-ups, we'd want to begin with arms locked and rings turned outward, initiating the pull into the transition, executing a simple dip, and ending in a support position. And while a perfectly strict muscle-up is our end goal, believe it or not, I actually don't recommend this when you're first starting out. Instead, I'd rather you learn the fundamentals using your muscles in their strongest flexion points, which is somewhere in the middle. Muscles are weakest when they're fully elongated, and muscle-ups are already hard enough. As your strength develops, then you can begin to add strictness to your muscle-ups. But for now, let's just get you going from under to over. Begin in the bottom position with your palms facing you and the rings relatively close together. This is where your maximum pulling power will come from. Extend your legs out front in an L-sit position and try to hold that throughout the move. It's okay if it changes a little. Begin by pulling as hard as you can, aiming to get the rings to the middle of your chest. You won't actually do that, but that's what I want you to aim for. At the top of the pull, your hands will quite naturally part ways and provide an opening through which you will quickly sit forward. That's the transition. At this point, you're essentially at the bottom of a dip. Just push up to the top, and that's it. Now, if you want to do reps, then simply reverse the whole thing by dropping as low as you can into a dip, leaning back, and in a controlled manner, dropping to the bottom. And like I said before, I found it much easier in the beginning to grow my strength by not fully extending at the bottom. Again, because of the muscle elongation issue I described before. Seriously, these things are hard enough even when not fully extending and turning the rings out at the bottom of the move, or at the top of the move for that matter. And I'd say once you get to the point where you can do between 5 and 7 reps of these not quite strict versions, then try to add elements of the technically complete version. Be aware though, purely strict muscle-ups are much harder. Now, if you're having trouble pulling hard enough to get your body through the rings and into a dip position, here are 2 things that I did that really helped me break through that barrier. First, add false grip pull-ups to your routine and try to explode upward as hard as you can. Now at first you might feel mocked by that term, explode, but stick with it, you will get to the point where you do feel like you're moving upwards very fast. And that's good. The faster you can get your body to move, the greater the chances of you hitting the transition. The other thing I did that helped quite a lot was to employ the use of negatives. Here, we jump up into a support hold and then execute the muscle up in reverse. The objective is to drop as slowly as possible on every rep. Here again, you might feel like you're simply falling right through that point without any control at all, but be patient. Your strength will improve, I promise. The general wisdom in gymnastics says that if you can execute 3 consecutive muscle-up negatives where each one lasts anywhere between 7 and 10 seconds, you are, at that very moment, likely able to do at least 1 real muscle-up, probably more. Also, I absolutely do recommend periodically attempting ring muscle-ups, maybe like once every couple of weeks, because you never know when it's finally going to happen, and it doesn't hurt to try. My thoughts were the sooner I can get out of these preliminary exercises and get on with doing actual ring muscle-ups, the better. So I say, don't be afraid to try them every once in a while. And honestly, you'll likely get your very first ring muscle-up when you least expect it. That's certainly how it happened to me. Check this out.
Gonna try the impossible today, for me anyway. Some kind of a muscle-up on rings. What? Okay, let's see what's up. Holy crap, I did it. What? Brandon Burns, where you at, brother? Did you see that?
All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, show me some love by hitting the like button. And by all means, comment below if you'd like me to cover anything specific in a future video. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss any new releases. Okay, see you on the next one.